Part 1, Tenets of Political Bargaining. These tenets of political bargaining provide the background of the National People's Concern, NPC. In order to make Rwanda free and safe for everyone, they are put forward to appeal for public support. National People's Concern, NPC. Preamble. Concerned political domination of the RPF in Rwanda and the socioeconomic well-being of the Rwandan people, honoring the memory of Rwanda's ultra-recent and bloody past, cognizant of the history of the unilateral rule and the effect it has had on the Rwandan people. Determined to ensure that Rwanda remains an open and peaceful country, committed to principles of non-discrimination, pluralism, and inclusiveness. Recognizing that Rwandan problems demand Rwandan solutions. Committed to achieving lasting peace and prosperity for all Rwandans, at home and abroad, guided by the universal principles of peace, justice, and human rights. Rwandan's shared commitment to democracy, transparency, good governance, and the rule of law. Ensuring that any changes to the current political regime are brought about through lawful, peaceful, and political means only. Pledging to ensure that all Rwandans hold a meaningful stake in the governance of their country. Determined to find a lasting political solution to Rwanda's political crisis. We put forth this coalition agreement for the Rwandan people. Mission Statement. The National People's Concern, NPC, aims to unite Rwandans in restoring meaningful freedom, security, and fundamental human rights to our homeland. NPC is a broad-based political coalition bringing together Rwandans from all sectors to end de facto one-party rule and restore power to the people. NPC seeks to forge a dialogue of genuine reconciliation and healing, grounded in principles of democracy, openness, inclusion, tolerance, and equality. NPC actively seeks members to join our struggle for freedom and self-determination for all Rwandans. Introduction. Rwandans, along with the rest of the world, hope for a true political and economic transformation to rise from the ashes of genocide. When the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, claimed victory in July 1994, refugees who had supported the war began to repatriate, hoping to cherish the victory that had cost the lives of their families, friends, and countrymen. Genocide survivors also remained in order to build a better Rwanda from our genocidal ashes. The prospect of democracy, freedom, and peace drew many to support RPF as they shifted from a military organization to a political one. 30 years later, it is clear that the RPF has failed. Rwandans have lost faith in the current regime, and, increasingly, in the government itself. Since 1994, Rwanda has been under de facto one-party rule overseen by one man, Paul Kagame. President Kagame served as Rwanda's leader from 1994 to 2000, while serving as vice president and minister of defense in Rwanda's post-conflict unity government. In 2000, Mr. Kagame officially took over the presidency when his predecessor, Pastor Bizimungu, resigned. President Kagame has officially held the presidency ever since, most recently winning his second 7-year term with over 93% of the vote. As president, Kagame has overseen a domineering and all-encompassing political and military movement bent on suppressing the diversity of thoughts and opinions that could help Rwanda achieve true success. Instead, RPF has dominated all spheres of our nation, using fear, terror, and suspicion to turn Rwandans against one another. RPF has created enmity among family members and hoping that by positioning us against each other we won't see their failures. But God has seen all that the RPF does: illegal land seizures and assassination campaigns, the jailing of opposition leaders, the suffering and divisions created between tribes, and the lack of trust with our neighbors. RPF has done all of this through an undemocratic process that is the real reason for Rwanda's social and economic insecurity. RPF is a government of one tribe and of one man. Instead of uniting Rwandans, RPF's divisive ways have prevented refugees from returning to Rwanda. And what Rwanda is there to return to? The skyscrapers of Kigali serve to distract attention from the lack of development in rural areas. Taxes are applied unfairly and used as another tool in RPF's campaign of coercion and domination. Corruption in employment sectors turns on party and tribe membership rather than merit. RPF must cease its unilateral and domineering ways and surrender Rwanda's power to the original owners, the people of Rwanda. Today, those who question the wisdom of Rwanda's leaders are labeled enemies of the state. Instead of solving Rwanda's political problems, the RPF seeks to hold on to power for as long as possible and at whatever cost. The Rwandan people are forced to cling to RPF for survival, hoping against all evidence that their leaders will simply become better. This wait-and-see approach has yielded few results. Political parties have been forcefully integrated into what has been termed a coalition with RPF. Those who have acted independently have been intimidated, arrested, barred from the election process, or otherwise silenced or removed. Rwandans, forever changed by an unspeakable genocide just 2 decades ago, remain fearful that a change in government could not occur peacefully. We are here to say that it can. Today, representatives of Rwanda's 2 largest tribes have met to sign an agreement to open a dialogue, initiate a lasting and true healing process, and provide a frame for a brighter future for all Rwandans. We are issuing a call for everyone, from army commanders to day laborers, farmers to clergymen, politicians to civil society, Kigali residents to displaced refugees, to join us in ending the political, economic, and social injustice that has enslaved Rwanda for far too long. NPC will partner with the masses to build a democratic society, develop our unique culture, beliefs, and language, and grow a peaceful and secure economy and community in which all people have access to sufficient food, energy, and infrastructure. NPC believes that all Rwandans should have a meaningful say in electing a government of their choice in regular, free, and fair elections in a multi-party democracy. Rwanda should be free from discrimination and allow people to associate freely with the ideas, people, and principles that they choose. And this open society must be protected by an independent judiciary, free from government and party influence. NPC will build together, as a coalition force, to bring holistic change to the quality of life for all Rwandans. NPC will repair the broken relationships between our fragmented ethnic groups. We seek to bring together the warring forces of Rwanda to dialogue, in public debates, to build trust and confidence amongst one another. We must speak freely, without fear or intimidation, to devise a healing methodology of political repair that is supported by Rwanda's diverse population. Together, we can bring about political change and establish an inclusive system of governance that represents and serves the interests of all Rwandans. We, the parties to this agreement, hereby declare our intention to overcome the tribal differences perpetuated by colonialist invaders and divisive Rwandans. Together, we represent the Hutu and Tutsi tribes, and we have opened our doors for the TWA to join us, as well. We have forged this coalition to provide a political solution to Rwanda's political problem of one-party rule. We stand for freedom. We stand for democracy. We stand for transparency and openness. We stand for economic and social justice. And we represent those who trust the Rwandan people to make their own political choices in a free, fair, and open election process. For too long, Rwandans have endured dictatorial governments, corruption, visionless leaders, and a gross misuse of our scarce resources. Rwandans have suffered civil and tribal wars, hunger, and disease. It is time to end this degradation. This document articulates the coalition's stance on Rwanda's most pressing issues and lays out a blueprint for bringing meaningful freedom to the Rwandan people. Make this dream a reality. The parties to this document have agreed to work together, in good faith and for common cause, under the banner of the national people's concern. Basic needs and services. Our pledge: the true success of any nation is measured in the quality of life of its people. The NPC pledges to do everything it can to provide all Rwandans with the opportunity to share in our country's wealth, to contribute to its development, and to improve their lives. The fight against poverty requires a coordinated strategy that cuts across all sectors, with particular attention to rural and disadvantaged areas. Economic, social, and cultural rights. NPC shall prioritize the full realization of economic, social, and cultural rights. NPC shall review all national policies to ensure the full realization of these rights. Align trade and economic agreements with our international treaty obligations relating to economic, social, and cultural rights. Promote compliance with the principles of corporate social responsibility in the private sector. Involve civil society, interest groups, and other key stakeholders in policymaking consultations to ensure the protection and implementation of economic, social, and cultural rights. Increase the capacity of state institutions to produce disaggregated data to obtain an accurate assessment of economic, social, and cultural rights, publishing annual reports on Rwanda's ability to make these rights more accessible and non-discriminatory. Adopt special measures to protect the rights of historically marginalized groups, including women, children, indigenous peoples, displaced persons, refugees, persons living with HIV/AIDS, and the disabled. Prosecute to the fullest extent of the law any reported violation of economic, social, and cultural rights, especially with regard to child labor, workplace and industrial safety standards, forced evictions, minimum wage, the environment, and food security. Tie NPC's planned spending reduction for security forces to an increase in funding for the implementation of economic, social, and cultural rights. Education. Education is a right, not a privilege. NPC will finally make education a priority, opening the doors of learning to all Rwandans. NPC will encourage a culture of learning and teaching and will introduce a curriculum that promotes both technical skills and humane ideals. NPC will foster a culture of learning, teaching, and service. Introduce one education system that provides 10 years of free and compulsory education for all children. Utilize all existing school facilities. Build additional classrooms and repair and modernize inadequate facilities. Employ a pupil's workbook and deliver textbooks for all students within the first year. Provide mother tongue instruction in the student's language of choice. Establish a national bursary fund and student loan system for higher education. Establish an adult literacy program. Reintegrate teens back into the school system that has not completed their education. Implement preschool edu-care. Provide special assistance to women in the education sector. Ensure that no student is excluded from a public school due to an inability to pay. Ensure that school resources are more equitably spread throughout the country. Limit the class size to ensure an effective student-teacher ratio. Press ahead with the national schools building programs to meet increasing demand, with a specific focus on improving infrastructure in rural areas and townships. Raise the quality of school leadership teams by strengthening administrative capacity and ensuring parental involvement. Integrate adult basic education and training with skills development to improve access to educational and employment opportunities, within the national qualifications framework. Prioritize national planning and funding system development for higher education while controlling wastage in this sector. Embark on specialized that is useful for Rwanda and the African continent. Reduce years in the classroom and expand years in the field to build technical skills and provide students with real-world experience. Modernize technical and vocational education. Emphasize subjects relevant to success in the Rwanda of today and tomorrow: economics, business, science, technology, and personnel management, ensuring that the next generation of workers has the tools and training to succeed. Focus on the positive, uniting differences of culture. Energy, NPC will invest extensively in hydroelectric and renewable energies to facilitate true energy independence and security for Rwanda. NPC's energy policy will focus on the reduction of environmental degradation as a comprehensive part of meeting the country's energy needs. NPC will lead Rwanda into the green future, enticing clean energy investors into the country and bringing high-tech jobs to the Rwandan people. Environment, NPC will invest in creating a green Rwanda to protect the environment and establish an economy that is as viable today as it will be 100 years from now. Every Rwandan must safeguard the environment for future generations. Families and children, NPC will establish cultural laws to protect families, especially women and children, as this will strengthen the familial bond and provide greater peace and stability in our society. Food security, NPC will establish community-based produce warehouses for stocking harvests locally. NPC will also assist small-scale farmers by providing opportunities for training and increasing their access to credit and markets. Restructure development agencies and marketing boards to better serve farmers and consumers. Healthcare, NPC seeks to guarantee basic healthcare to all Rwandans, emphasizing preventative care. NPC will assess the current distribution of health resources and ensure that rural areas and poverty-stricken communities are covered in equal measure as the wealthier and urban parts of Rwanda. Further, NPC health program will provide free health services in all national hospitals, make medicines more affordable, direct major resources at combating tuberculosis, malaria, HIV/AIDS, sexually transmitted diseases, cancer, and other plagues. Facilitate the integration of traditional health practices as a complement to modern medicine. Develop a comprehensive, affordable, and accessible national public health system, financed by a social health insurance program. Eliminate RPF's mandatory health contributions, which place an undue burden on Rwanda's poorest citizens. Improve the availability of doctors and nurses, especially at rural clinics. Ensure the availability and affordability of medicine in line with our national drug policy. Improve the management of hospitals and dispensaries. Develop campaigns against drug, tobacco, and alcohol-related illnesses. Draw from our culture's traditions to promote abstinence before marriage as an effective way of strengthening marriages and preventing unintended pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections. Give extensive support to couples who will test their virginity before their wedding. Review existing laws to ensure that health status is never the basis for discrimination in Rwanda. Housing, all Rwandans deserve to have their basic needs met, including the right to call a secure, comfortable, sheltered place home. Following NPC's implementation of land reforms, NPC will implement a 5-year plan to assist in the building of 2 million new homes. Provide running water and flush toilets to over 2 million families. Electrify 5 million rural and urban homes. Make an honest agreement with the private sector and trade unions to better channel investments into the housing sector. Develop housing on well-located land near areas of economic activity, overcoming the apartheid-like human settlement patterns of so-called group areas. Improve and speed up the housing subsidy program to better uplift housing conditions for the urban poor in informal settlements. Loosen credit for housing financing, especially through microloans. Reduce homelessness by increasing the availability of rental units through housing subsidies and service-enriched housing, and by removing administrative barriers to home loans. Support the People-less housing process, setting up housing support centers to help poor people build their own houses, share resources, and purchase affordable housing materials. Institute rent control. Land reform. Rwanda belongs to all Rwandans. NPC will implement several key land reform initiatives to maximize production and opportunity for all. NPC will guarantee women meaningful and equal rights and access to land. Strengthen the security of land tenure. Provide restitution to victims of forced removals through the establishment of a land claims court. Assess the current status of state-owned land to determine whether portions of that land would be more useful in the hands of private citizens, either through sale or short-term lease. Review current restrictions on land ownership to create more farmable land and to increase food security and employment in agriculture. Public Works and NPC's main focus will be to ensure that the prosperity so readily on display in Kigali will reach the most remote rural homesteads of Rwanda. To accomplish this, NPC will introduce a rural development program to quickly modernize key infrastructure, while also providing increased job opportunities for Rwanda's rural citizens. NPC will focus on hiring locally available workers so that communities benefit not just from better services but also from increased employment. The Rural Development Program will strengthen the provision of those services critical to the survival of a nation and its people: water, electricity, healthcare, schools, waste management, telecommunications, and roads, because a working Rwanda is a healthy Rwanda. Refugees and the right of return. NPC will repatriate all. Rwandan refugees, putting an end to the genocide-fueled diaspora that has scattered Rwanda's people across the globe. Transportation. NPC will develop and promote an integrated public transport system, which will include special assistance for the disabled. NPC will build and rehabilitate public transport infrastructure while empowering historically disadvantaged operators, ensuring greater order in this sector. NPC will also construct a modern transportation infrastructure essential for a dynamic and entrepreneurial economy. Rwanda will lead the charge to link the region through express railway lines, providing Rwandans with better access to seaports and the regional economy. National defense. NPC will seek to guarantee the security of every tribe by building an ethnically based distribution of power within the armed forces in order to safeguard our national security. Specifically, NPC will ensure that the armed forces and other security organs are comprised of 40% Hutu, 40% Tutsi, 15% TWA, and 5% of other ethnicities. NPC will support the deployment of troops only in instances where Rwanda's own borders and people are threatened. NPC will otherwise remain neutral about conflicts in neighboring nations, providing only humanitarian support to conflict victims. NPC is a peaceful movement that will seek to resolve all disputes through peaceful means. NPC pledges to ensure that our armed forces will always have the support they need and that veterans and their families are treated with the dignity they deserve. Welfare and pensions. NPC will introduce a new plan to care for children, senior citizens, the disabled, the hungry, and victims of violence. NPC will implement a program targeted to meet the basic needs of the homeless, as well as orphans and other vulnerable children. NPC will ensure that pensions are adequately funded to provide for the full needs of the elderly. NPC establish and manage distributions of social grants for Rwanda's most vulnerable groups. And control corruption. Democracy. Our pledge, NPC, is a political organization seeking political change through political means. NPC is founded with the explicit goal of bringing a truly free, open, and transparent democracy to Rwanda. NPC envisions a Rwanda that operates on principles of equality, pluralism, and accountability. Affirmative action. Opportunities must be opened for all who have suffered past discrimination, including returned refugees, and political party members not a part of the so-called RPF revolution, former military and police officers who served honorably under previous regimes, casualties of war, and genocide survivors. NPC will ensure that any Rwandan who wants to live, work, or flourish in Rwanda has the opportunity to do so. Civil liberties. NPC shall guarantee freedom of speech, association, and freedom of religion. Ensure the freedom to travel, abolishing all past laws or other restrictions that prevent Rwandans from moving freely within their country. Protect the privacy of the house from police raids through legislation that requires police to obtain a warrant from a neutral magistrate before entering a home. Enforce the equal application and protection of the law. Set a minimum age at which an individual may begin to work, safeguarding against exploitative labor practices. Guarantee everyone the right to criticize and petition their government. Ensure that no one is arbitrarily deprived of their property. Uphold the right to a free press at all times. The Constitution, although the 2003 Constitution enshrines many of the same principles and ideals discussed here, it remains an underutilized and underenforced document under RPF leadership. The current regime has failed to enforce the many protections contained within the Constitution. NPC wants to ensure that the rights granted to the people, equal protection, free press, political freedom, and many others, are fully realized. NPC will create a constitutional advisory panel, comprised of representatives from all tribes, geographical regions, and socioeconomic classes, to assess how the Constitution is functioning. This panel will provide NPC with recommendations to better realize the Constitution's full potential, as well as amendments worth full consideration by Parliament, the executive branch, and the people of Rwanda. NPC will also seek consideration of the following constitutional issues. Article 61, NPC will seek to change the language of the oath to include declarations to fight corruption, serve the community, hold public meetings in one's constituency at least 4 times per year, and to live in the community from which the official is elected. Term limits. NPC will seek to enact the following term limits. NACO, 3-year terms. Legislators, 2 6-year terms. Judicial officers, 2 7-year terms. Executive branch members, 2 6-year terms. Other agencies, 3 4-year terms. Lower councils, 3 4-year terms. Corruption. NPC will enforce strict measures, without fear or favor, to root out corruption, nepotism, and bribery in the public and private sectors, in our own organization, and in society as a whole. NPC will remove those who seek to enrich themselves at the expense of the people. Government under NPC will be a meritocracy, where the best ideas and hardest workers rise to the top on the basis of their abilities. NPC will establish a public body to oversee the creation and operation of a private anti-corruption unit, whose members will be replaced every 2 years. Create an independent commission against corruption, which will be as powerful as the corruption it seeks to eradicate and will function independently to promote honesty and integrity in all spheres of public and private conduct. Introduce effective policing of international ports of entry to prevent the smuggling of goods and people. Work in partnership with religious communities and other sectors to strengthen the moral fiber of Rwandan society. Elections. NPC plans to radically innovate the election process through a localized council system in order to promote free and fair elections and curtail corruption. NPC's National Congress of Specialized Councils (NACO) proposal increases the efficiency of elections, reduces costs, and provides opportunities for local people to play a greater role in Rwanda's future. Most importantly, though, NPC's proposal regulates excessive power residing in a single individual. For more information on NPC's proposal for a national Congress, see Appendix 1. Ethnicity. NPC, like all Rwandans, wants a society and a government where success is determined on merit alone. All of Rwanda's tribes wish to live in harmony, without divisions predicated on race or ethnicity. NPC opposes ethnic-grounded politics and ethnic-cantered mass mobilization campaigns. NPC will repeal the genocide ideology law, which unduly restricts freedom of expression and has been used as a political weapon. NPC will fight for an end to the social, political, and economic monopoly of any one tribe. NPC opposes ethnic identification cards or anything with a similar effect. NPC also opposes the quota system in all spheres of public life. NPC, however, recognizes the importance of affirming one's unique heritage, and therefore supports positive expressions of ethnic recognition, personal identity, and respect for differences, which play a critical part in the reconciliation process. Foreign Affairs. NPC will be an active member of the global community, seizing each and every opportunity to promote our national interests abroad. NPC will lead Rwanda into becoming a key player in the values of freedom, fairness, and responsibility. Freedom of the press. Free media is essential to a flourishing democracy. NPC will do everything in its power to protect the rights of journalists to report the news and stories that they see fit to discuss, without fear of retribution or criminal prosecution. Too many caveats contained in Article 34 of the Constitution allow the state to silence this critical institution. This censorship must end. Immigration. NPC will seek to enrich our culture and strengthen our economy by simplifying immigration laws for the citizens of other countries with whom we share interests and values. Justice. NPC will establish a court system that reflects society's ethnic and gender composition, providing fairness and equality for all. Detention without trial will be done away with. The justice system will be more accessible and more affordable. NPC will introduce a law that protects all Rwandans from any form of abuse. NPC will build a fairer society, free from identification by wealth, age, gender, tribe, race, religion, sexuality, size, and color. Local government. NPC will transform local government by introducing new organizational structures that engage people in each geographic area to act collectively. NPC will govern from the bottom up, giving all people the opportunity to exercise their right to participate in the democratic process. NPC will restructure local government boundaries to make them financially viable. Establish statutory ward committees so that councils are responsive to their constituencies. Transform municipalities into idea centers for democracy, economic development, and service delivery. Ensure that all candidates for local government are empowered and responsive to their constituents. Give local communities a share in local growth. Free local governments from centralized control, returning it to the people. Give local communities more power over the central government. Give people the ability to determine spending priorities. Create a council of professionals and experts to represent local communities at the regional level. Return power and money to local communities to implement community-based projects. The monarchy, the NPC, like all the tribes of Rwanda, supports the return of its king and the father of the nation. NPC, however, does not support a monarchical system. NPC will repatriate the king and reintegrate him with his people, reinstating him as the king of tribes and culture and helping him to reclaim his traditional heritage as another means of promoting reconciliation and fair treatment for all Rwandans. NPC will consult with the masses as to how best to reintegrate the king and to what extent, if any, he should be involved in state affairs. National Congress of Specialized Councils, NACO NPC plans to restructure government based on the principle of local expertise, utilizing a National Congress of Specialized Councils. NACO, to directly elect parliamentarians, removing the right of direct election for parliament from the hands of the people. Rwandan villages shall form district councils of experts. These district councils will come together to elect representatives to their respective regional councils. These regional councils will then choose members of NACO. NACO will be responsible for the selection and election of all members of parliament. NACO will be the only entity with the power to nominate presidential candidates, who will then be elected through a popular vote of the people. NACO also will be responsible for making all judicial appointments. For more details on NACO, see Appendix 1. National government, NPC's aim is to build a state in which ordinary citizens have the opportunity to play an active role. NPC will develop efficient, user-friendly, and accountable governance standards. Reorganize the public service to more effectively deliver services by establishing a public service commission within NACO responsible for appointments, increasing efficiency and effectiveness, ensuring a minimum code of conduct for public services, and introducing an affirmative action program to eliminate historical inequalities in employment. Charge all public institutions with the task of best utilizing their resources and skills to bring about open and accountable government. Ensure that local newspapers and radio and TV stations fulfill their role in reconstruction and development. Issue regular public reports detailing Rwanda's finances, along with a clear accounting of government programs and resources. An open society. NPC will strive to achieve an open society by encouraging vigorous debate. People must be free to express their views without fear, including criticizing the government. Governance under NPC will be characterized by transparency and openness. The public should always be free to question and test the ideas and actions that their government takes. NPC will open the doors of public bodies, allowing ordinary citizens a chance to meaningfully participate in government year-round, not just at the ballot box. NPC will do everything in its power to assist the public in holding its politicians and public bodies accountable. As the Constitution provides, all the power derives from the people. NPC will bring meaning to these words by ensuring that the Rwandan people have the information necessary to exercise that power, ensuring that Rwanda is a government of the people, for the people. Political reform. We will cooperate with the masses, local politicians, experts, civil societies, interest groups, and development partners to bring greater transparency and accountability to Rwanda's political system. NPC will govern based on the will of the people. NPC will seek creative solutions, welcoming any idea that may bring a brighter future to Rwanda. NPC holds no prejudice to agents of change and development in the country. We will put an immediate end to the attacks on opposition political groups and institute true multi-party democracy in Rwanda, ending years of tyrannical rule by the RPF. NPC will end the ban that prevents politicians from running for office if they have been sentenced to a prison term of 6 months or more, as this has been used as a political tool to disqualify opposition candidates. Safeguard the right to vote for all Rwandans. Allow any person regardless of political affiliation to stand for elections. Ensure that all positions of power are subject to democratic selection and control. Power sharing. Any government in which NPC will establish or take part must be willing to honor Article 9(3) of the Constitution of Rwanda, equitable sharing of power across the 3 branches of government, as well as in Rwanda's security forces. NPC is an inclusive movement will apply principles of power sharing to all political actors duly elected by the people. The economy. Our pledge, NPC understands that economic success drives the kind of socioeconomic programs detailed in this agreement. NPC, therefore, will focus heavily on economic development as a means of lifting Rwanda's poorest citizens out of poverty and creating financial incentives for investment in the country. The source of Rwanda's strength is our nation's unique culture, beliefs, language, and work ethic. By harnessing our shared passion for success, together we can build a growing economy that will allow us to provide job opportunities, housing stability, and educational access for all. Banking. NPC will promote borrowing and lending by simplifying securities, interests, and method of payment while maintaining sustainable banking practices conducive to a stable, opportunity-driven banking sector. NPC will establish a stable ownership structure and efficient management of banks by consolidating state-owned banks and other state-owned enterprises. Modify regulations and support innovative financial institutions and instruments that mobilize private domestic savings to help fund community projects. Implement a systemic anti-crisis measure to prevent financial collapse. Review the government's debt portfolio and ensure that funds held by the government, on behalf of the Rwandan people, are properly managed. Centralize and reduce government borrowing by establishing a public finance agency to monitor public debts and promote decency in public borrowing by establishing guidelines and guarantees for public borrowing, managing risks, and controlling the use of public finances. Comment. Ensure normal operation of the secondary securities market by pricing government bonds to stabilize the price of new borrowing on the primary securities market. Consumer protection. NPC will protect consumers against any form of exploitation by establishing an official tariff and check method and by creating an environment conducive to competition. NPC will create a consumer watchdog agency to protect consumers from unfair lending practices. Deficit reduction. NPC will control government debt by managing reckless spending and ensuring that taxpayer money is spent responsibly. NPC will promote an open and transparent government founded on accountability. Foreign investment. NPC will use our embassies to exchange labor services for money as a means of reducing dependence on foreign aid and as an opportunity to contribute our resources to the development of other countries. The same will help Rwanda. Free trade. NPC supports regionally based free trade initiatives to promote growth in the East African economy as a whole. Immigration. NPC will seek to enrich our culture and strengthen our economy by simplifying immigration laws for citizens of other countries with whom we share common interests and values. NPC will introduce immigration reforms that simplify the issuance of visas and permits to foreigners who meet our economic, social, and cultural needs. Infrastructure. Economic success for individual Rwandans will only occur if the state helps to create an environment where innovation can succeed. NPC will ensure that Rwanda's infrastructure, roads and railways, access to seaports, and telecommunications are modern and fully operational. Jobs. Unemployment is NPC's first priority. All Rwandans who want to work should have the opportunity to do so. Employment reduces the strain on government to provide social support, freeing up resources to focus on the elderly, marginalized, and disabled. NPC will hold summits in all sectors to develop job strategies, institute mass public works programs and youth brigades, optimize taxes, procurement, and monetary policy for job creation, integrate regional development, increase opportunities for self-employment, cooperatives, and small businesses through tax cuts designed to encourage hiring and new small business ventures. Target skills training for the unemployed, with an eye toward labor export. Modernize employment services. Invest in human resources development. Monetary policy. NPC will adopt a loose monetary policy to keep Treasury securities affordable and bring more money into the economy. NPC will lower short-term interest rates to encourage banks to lend money more freely. NPC will establish a monetary policy to guide the central bank in regulating banks, operating the national payment system, and complying with internationally approved monetary standards. Peace. NPC recognizes that lasting peace is a prerequisite for true prosperity. For too long, the divisions of the past have threatened our economic success. NPC will do everything in its power to promote a peaceful existence so that all Rwandans are free to open businesses, innovate, and explore, operating freely in the marketplace without fear or retribution. Private sector investment. NPC will support labor-intensive investment throughout our economy, as well as sectors that have large employment potentials, such as tourism, manufacturing, agriculture, and the extraction and refinement of raw materials. NPC will create incentives to encourage foreign and domestic investment in job-creating activities. Implement measures to discourage overdependence on short-term capital flows and speculative investment. Regulatory structure. NPC will seek to enhance Rwanda's status as a destination for doing business. NPC will seek to liberalize the economy by minimizing bureaucracy and easing the flow of commerce and capital into the country. Small businesses. NPC will create more job opportunities by making it easier for people to start their own businesses. NPC will change licensing laws, provide training and access to small businesses, with a particular focus on empowering women to participate more fully in the Rwandan economy. Taxation. NPC will ensure that Rwanda has an efficient and fair tax system that develops people and the country economically. NPC will institute a comprehensive review of the current tax system to ensure basic fairness for the average citizen and business owner. NPC will reduce the number and amount of taxes. Establish a better way of identifying and controlling taxes through the creation of the private tax investigation and control agency, a periodically privatized revenue department. Create a tax environment that attracts investors and gives them the flexibility to operate within the Rwandan community. Abolish VAT on all basic foods, textile products, and capital ventures. Review income taxes. Review taxation of married women and singles. Restructure tax collection to make it more efficient. Ensure that every business pays its fair share. Dedicate any tax funds that exceed government spending for that year to social service programs. Lower capital gains taxes. Workers' rights. NPC will promote and defend the rights of the workers and will outlaw all workplace discrimination by introducing an equal employment opportunity policy that bars state or private institutions from employment discrimination based on ethnicity, sexual origin, political affiliation, gender identity, marital status, disability, and genetic information, ethnicity, age, membership in an employee organization, or other non-merit-based factors. Establish and protect quality employment standards, including maternity and child care rights. Introduce specialized training for the unemployed, especially youth and women. Promote centralized bargaining and strong trade unions. Guarantee the right to strike and peacefully demonstrate. Raise and enforce standards of health and safety. International relations. Our pledge, NPC pledges to comply with principles of democratic good governance as characterized by transparency, honesty, and integrity. NPC will be open and fair, respecting differences and promoting peace and tolerance in dealing with other states. NPC will. The African continent, NPC shall have no room for global conflict, as our mission is to plant the seeds of peace and bring healing to the African community and to the global community. NPC pledges to take an active role in the continent's interests, ensuring that it is a safe, peaceful, and prosperous place to live, work, and raise a family. NPC envisions an Africa free from conflicts and equipped to face the unique challenges of the modern world. Democracy, freedom, and human rights. NPC will ensure that Rwanda takes its rightful place among international actors advancing freedom and self-determination. Under NPC, Rwanda will assist in the campaign for democracy, human rights, peace, and the sovereignty of states. NPC will seek to ratify all regional and international agreements that protect human rights, especially those concerning the rights of women and children. NPC will also cooperate fully with human rights groups, both inside and outside of Rwanda's borders. East Africa, NPC will build closer cooperation and economic integration in the region. NPC will take an active role in the East African community and in the African Union. NPC will work with other states in the region to ensure peace, security, and the mutual benefits of trade. International treaties. NPC will consult with civil society organizations with regard to international treaties, including Rwanda's vote for the nomination and election of members of the African Commission and judges on the African Court on Human and People's Rights. NPC will also seek to implement the following international documents by ratifying them and implementing domestic legislation enshrining those rights, including the Declaration on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, 2004. Declaration of the World Summit on Sustainable Development, 2002. Declaration of World Conference Against Racism, Racial Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Related Intolerance, 2001. The 10 Commitments Declaration on Social Development of Copenhagen, 1995. Resolutions from the UN Conference on Sustainable Development from the Earth Summit, Rio, 1992. Resolutions from the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment, Stockholm, 1972. Peace and Development. NPC will promote peace and development to foster democratic systems, a respect for human rights, and to end corruption on our continent. NPC will Act decisively to promote peace in the region and Africa as a whole by adhering to regional peace and security agreements and abiding by resolutions of the UN Security Council concerning regional peace and stability. Campaign for a better managed global economy, including the restructuring of international financial and trade institutions, to make them more sensitive to the needs of developing countries, especially those in Africa. Advocate strongly for debt relief for the world's poorest countries. Promote fair trade, investment, and development. Support fair labor standards and environmental regulations that help level the playing field in a globalizing workplace. Rwandan culture. NPC is proud of Rwanda and its unique history and culture. NPC will honor our shared heritage by ensuring that cultural studies and sports have a firm place in our schools. NPC will also share our culture with the rest of the world through cultural exchanges, diplomatic relations, state visits, and immigration policy negotiations with foreign states. Safety and security. Our pledge, NPC will facilitate a peaceful and secure environment in which people can live without fear of individuals or their government. Armed Forces. NPC will oversee a reorganization of Rwanda's armed forces to establish more checks and balances in our power structures. Under NPC, the army will be on a strict volunteer basis. No Rwandan shall be compelled to serve if he or she does not wish to do so, and the army's powers will be strictly limited to the nation's defense. The military will no longer be used to police domestic matters or interfere in politics. Further, the Army will serve as a training ground for our nation's youth, honing their technical and service skills. NPC will also help guarantee the security of every tribe by building an armed force comprised of all tribes to collectively safeguard our national security. Lastly, NPC pledges to ensure that our armed forces have the support they need, that veterans are treated with the dignity that they deserve. Crime. NPC will root out the underlying crime, such as poverty, food insecurity, and inequality. NPC will also establish tougher laws protecting Rwandans from violent crimes that target people based on tribal affiliation, gender, or age. Prioritize the prosecution of domestic violence by establishing specialized courts to handle these cases. Create a victim empowerment program to safeguard and support crime victims. Introduce tougher gun control legislation. Reform criminal sentencing by implementing harsher sentences for serious crimes, but alternative sentences for petty ones, including non-incarceration options such as electronic home monitoring systems for certain crimes and offenders. Ensure that no person with a criminal history is eligible to become a police officer. Review working conditions for police officers and review their training programs, investigative capacity, housing, supplies. Transform all elements of the criminal justice system, the police, the courts, the prisons, and the prosecution system to reflect Rwanda's commitment to human rights and ensure fair due process of law. Form specialized police task forces to target organized criminal activity. Reserve jails and prisons for serious crimes only and institute a rehabilitative model of justice instead of a punitive one. Reduce street crimes by controlling markets for used goods. National security. NPC will establish a safe and secure environment for all Rwandans, ensuring stable security institutions and restoring Rwanda's territorial integrity. Peace. NPC will finance a peace program within the government. NPC will oversee a government where all Rwandans are free to seek redress. NPC will look to resolve disputes at their earliest stages, and its government of inclusiveness should help to validate the importance of every Rwandan, not just those affiliated with a particular political party or ethnic group. Policing. To protect Rwanda's internal security, NPC will start at the community level, ensuring safety, neighborhood by neighborhood. NPC will emphasize preventative policing, asking officers to identify and resolve community issues before they escalate into criminal conduct or aggression. Rwanda's shared prosperity can only become a reality once all Rwandans recognize that we need one another to survive and succeed. This shared dependence extends to all spheres of our political, social, and economic existence as citizens of Rwanda. NPC's long-term goal is to reduce the size of the police force as criminal activity wanes. Reconciliation. NPC believes that Rwanda has not completed the healing process from our genocide. NPC promises to be a leader in the process that will allow all Rwandans to properly grieve and heal, forgive and reconcile, and look toward a future of genuine unity and tolerance. NPC will provide a space in which all Rwandans can ask for forgiveness for the role they may have played in crimes committed against another. Bring to an end any pending genocide and war crime cases. Protect tribal identity, but one that exists without fear of discrimination or a denial of rights and privileges. Root out any tribal-based practices that infringe on the rights of another, including Uburetwa/Ubihake. Provide unconditional support for the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda and the United Nations. Mechanism for criminal tribunals to carry out their mandate and complete prosecution of the Rwandan genocide's most heinous perpetrators. Gacaca courts. Rwanda's national courts reform the national courts so that they no longer function as a tool that serves the RPF regime, but rather as neutral arbiters open to the needs of all Rwandans. National Unity and Reconciliation Program. NPC recognizes the need for continued unity and reconciliation as the current program has fallen far short. NPC will push forward a true and meaningful reconciliation process, first by earning the Rwandan people's trust. NPC is an inclusive organization that integrates members of all tribes. Its founding members did not participate in previous conflicts or crimes. NPC will create a healing environment to restore confidence and trust in Rwanda's government of the future. Terrorism. We shall join the international community in its fight against terrorism, particularly with regard to weapons of mass destruction. NPC will adhere to the provision of the International Criminal Court and will cooperate fully with international bodies that seek to secure peace in this world. Conclusion. NPC is a coalition committed to advancing democracy and freedom within Rwanda's borders. NPC believes that the key to unlocking Rwanda's full potential is to create a free and open environment in which each and every Rwandan has the tools and opportunity to succeed. Rwandans must be free to make the political, social, and economic choices that they think are best. NPC will promote political inclusiveness and tolerance, respect for Rwanda's constitution and laws, and will encourage the peaceful resolution of differences in political and social spheres. NPC will put people first. NPC will invest in jobs, secure housing, and quality education. NPC will unlock Rwanda's true economic potential by providing the infrastructure, tax scheme, and regulatory environment to help local businesses grow in a sustainable way and attract foreign investment. NPC will provide a social safety net for those unable to provide for their own basic needs and will establish a reconstruction fund to atone for the wounds still unhealed from our genocidal past. NPC will also seek out international aid and loans to empower Rwanda to its full capacity more quickly. A Rwandan government under NPC will be a safe and secure one, free of political prosecutions, where Rwandans resolve differences through dialogue, truth, and reconciliation. The Coalition Agreement. Preamble. whereas the signatories to this agreement are members of the 3 tribes of Rwanda, whereas each tribe still feels the negative effects of Rwanda's past and present political ills, whereas the parties share the common interest of achieving peace, unity, and reconciliation, whereas each party to this agreement wishes to come together and have an equal seat at the table. Whereas the parties share the common goal of creating a political force to liberate all Rwandans and establish a true, democratic government of the people. Whereas the parties agree to design and maintain a strong coalition open to all Rwandans that engages people of different backgrounds and viewpoints to achieve long-term political stability and success. Whereas the coalition partners seek to form a collective political force capable of bringing lasting political solutions to Rwanda's political problems. Whereas, the parties are authorized by the coalition agreement to negotiate on behalf of this movement. Whereas, the coalition partners have the rights and authority in this agreement to act for the purposes described in the contents of this agreement. We, the founding coalition partners, do hereby agree to work together, in good faith and for a common cause, under the banner of the national people's concern. Article 1, the Coalition Agreement. The Coalition Agreement is the founding document of NPC and, as such, no other document produced or promulgated by NPC, or its partners or members shall supersede the terms contained in this document. Amendment. The Coalition Agreement may be amended subject to all NPC partners' approval, and when agreed, the amendment shall take effect 6 months after approval. The Coalition Agreement shall be subject to annual review by the Consultative Committee of NPC, which will issue recommendations where it is required. Termination of this agreement shall occur via a unanimous vote of all NPC partners. Article 2, Organizational Structure. Consultative Committee. Strategic Committee. 2.1. The Strategic Committee shall establish national action plans, which set out benchmark indicators for the progressive realization of social, economic, and cultural rights. Finance Committee. 3.1. The Finance Committee shall be responsible for NPC's annual budget and expenditures. The committee shall be open and transparent, ensuring that NPC's budgetary processes are consultative and reviewable by its members and partners. Public Relations Spokesperson. 4.1. NPC's public relations spokesperson is the only person authorized to comment publicly on behalf of NPC. Other members and partners of NPC are not encouraged to speak on behalf of the NPC without NPC's prior, written authorization. Executive Council. Coalition Assembly/General Council. The only person authorized to comment. Secretariat. NPC shall be free to form other committees, subcommittees, or other internal organizations as it sees fit to best manage the organization's affairs and attain its goals. Article 3, Decision-Making. Consensus and Voting. 1.1. By its very nature, NPC seeks to bring together many voices into one. Decisions will be made in accordance with the will of members and partners, and consensus is always the first priority. This coalition requires all of its members to come to the table with an open mind and clear heart, to trust and respect one another, and to work in good faith towards our common goals. Where consensus cannot be reached, decisions shall be made by majority vote. Meetings and reporting. 2.1. Partners will meet/confer at least once a month for the purposes of program planning and monitoring, evaluating outcomes, and reviewing and ensuring that each entity is in compliance with this agreement. 2.2. Coalition Congress shall meet at least once each calendar year and not more. than 18 months after the previous meeting. An extraordinary meeting of the Coalition Congress may be called by the chairperson or by any 50 members, provided there is at least 10 days' notice given. Article 4, Finances. NPC will seek funds and materials from partners, members, donors, development and aid organizations, individuals, and any other willing person or entity that wishes to see a free and democratic Rwanda. The Coalition Congress may set annual membership fees. NPC members will be expected to support NPC fundraising programs and initiatives through donations, time, and/or other resources. Article 5, Partnership and Membership. The signatories to this document are the founding coalition partners. Any other interested party, from individuals to organizational entities, join NPC's ranks. 2.1. Individual membership. Persons that wish to join NPC may do so by applying for membership directly to NPC, subject to approval by NPC's leadership. Members of all tribes and individuals from all backgrounds are encouraged to apply for membership. Withdrawal of membership shall occur with 6 months written notice. Organizational partnership. Entities that wish to partner with NPC may do so by executing a membership agreement, specific to that entity, detailing the nature and extent of that partner's involvement in the movement. 2.2. NPC partners shall have equal rights, equal share, and equal say in the operations and direction of NPC. 2.2.1. Withdrawal of partnership shall occur with 6 months written notice. 2.3. Equal participation. NPC as an organizational structure will constantly seek to balance its ranks with members of all tribes and from all backgrounds, and to share organizational power amongst all groups, including in its leadership positions, subject, of course, to the results of elections. 2.4. A party or member to this agreement shall cease to be a member of the coalition in the event of death, resignation, expulsion, or non-renewal of membership. Any agreement entered into by another party with NPC does not come into full force until a majority of NPC partners have acceded to it, by signature or vote. Article 6, Resources. Equipment. All property acquired by NPC through purchase, donation, loan, or otherwise, shall form part of NPC's wealth and shall be controlled by the NPC property management team in a place known to all NPC members. Intellectual property. All ideas, individual artwork, writing, other work fairly characterized as intellectual property shall remain the property of the individual creator unless NPC purchases that work. Publications. All written materials not produced from paid consultancy or employment for NPC shall continue to belong to the creator until the ownership is purchased in full. Inventions, contributions, and acknowledgments. Whenever possible, NPC shall recognize and reward those individuals and organizations that have made substantial and lasting contributions to NPC and its mission and effectiveness. Up on NPC appendixes. Interest of the tribes. Plan for reparation and restitution. Reconstruction framework. Government program summary. Africa Chapter 2. Other plans charts. Part 2, 3 steps to a free and safe Rwanda. NACO, structure of a government by the people, working for the people. 3 knots, to be tied by the people to prevent the recurrence of dictatorship, ethnic conflict, injustice, mass atrocities, corruption, and state looting. Comprehensive dialogue for a free and safe Rwanda. 1. NACO, institutional building from the local level to the top. National Congress. NACO is the national congress that brings together the representatives of the people who have been elevated from the villages to the provinces, as well as representing the provinces where they come from in the NACO. Other members of NACO include members of various councils, security institutions, parties, religious groups, private organizations, and individuals representing different interests of different groups. The NACO representatives are the candidates for the post of senator, MP, judge, ministers, ambassadors, military, police, and other security officials, and officials in ministries and government institutions. NACO also receives and examines the CV and plans of candidates who want to run for the presidency affiliated with the National Assembly or Private Citizens Association. NACO is the institution that confirms the eligibility of candidates after considering their applications and checking other legal requirements. NACO also has the power to remove the president or to refrain him from re-election to protect the country or at the request of the people. It is also the entity that reviews and approves international agreements and debts related to Rwanda. The three branches of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature all submit their projects and reports to the NACO for approval, review, and amendment. Provincial Council, PCs, 5. The Provincial Council brings together delegates from all parts of the province, electing representatives to the NACO. In delegates designated by a province, each district in that province must be represented. District Council, DCs. The District Council brings together delegates from all sectors. The District Council elects delegates representing the district at the provincial level. Sector Council, SCs. The Sector Council is made up of delegates representing the cell in the Sector Council, electing delegates to represent the sector in the District Council. Cells Council, CCs. The Cell Council is made up of delegates representing the village at the Sector Council. The delegates must be of both ethnicity and gender. Village Council, VCs. The villagers elect the following representatives who will protect their interests: coordinator, media officer, social affairs officer, security, finance, and development. All 6 represent the village in the Cell Council. Cabinet Formation Plan. Richard R. Kayumba for NPC. 1. 3 knots people should tie to prevent dictatorship, ethnic conflict, injustice, mass atrocities, corruption, and state looting. 3 knots that people must tie to prevent the recurrence of dictatorship, injustice, ethnic divisions, and crimes against humanity. The Rwanda we would like to live after the RPF regime, a regime we have been criticizing for murder, injustice, dictatorship, poverty, unemployment, hunger, and deprivation of all human rights. To make sure that what is going to replace RPF does not become like it or worse than it, we have to have checks in place that allow Rwandans to reject the current regime and will ensure that it does not repeat. If we understand and agree to cooperate in tying these 3 knots mentioned below without any interruption, no one can imprison us again. Syllabus for Better Life in Rwanda. This book surveys Rwanda's problems and proposes priority-based solutions. For example, the amendment of the Constitution and other laws, designing the Republic and the Rwandan society we want and how it will be achieved, how the social and economic life of the people should be improved, and how to take up the issues of poverty reduction, unemployment, hunger and strife, justice and restoring trust, augmentation and exercise of rights, housing and cooperation, resettlement and how the military, police and security institutions can be built so that these institutions are trusted by all Rwandans, installing safeguards and checks that will prevent taking us back into an era of ethnic or political conflict. This kind of conflict should be avoided by establishing an ideological flag under which all Rwandans will unite with a sense of our true history. Consensus, broad-based society-wide consensus on how the Rwandan people will live together in an envisioned Rwandan society. The governance that will bring us closer to our dream about Rwanda, the economy that will uplift the people and Rwanda, the cooperation in the struggle for change and the sharing of power among the activists, the transitional government and designing our democratic society and what needs to be done before embracing a democratic ethos. NACO, how the people and the civil society that represent them should be the basis of people's vote in their councils regardless of identity, party, or ethnicity and should not be tainted by nepotism. They will be promoted from the village, cell, sector, district, and province to national level, NACO, the apex body, and this body will control other existing institutions in the country. It will also coordinate the national security agencies, professional associations, and the private sector, so it will have the central authority to approve the economic, developmental, and financial programs. The members of these institutions will be elected and can be removed. This is a summary of how the NPC wants to help the people regain their country, have their say in running their country, exercise their rights, and steer the country's economy. 3 ways you can help NPC to accomplish its mission. Agree on the importance of engaging in a dialogue that will help us to create a consensus model, articulate its ideology, and plan activities of the NPC leadership with your fitment. Support the NPC and work with the community to bring about the necessary changes, facilitate dialogue, and create a consensus. All other parties unite on the cause of liberation, bring a democratic environment, and an ideological stand that will save Rwanda while getting support from the NPC. Some of us are involved in political activities to save the people and Rwanda, whereas others are fighting for saving people of some particular ethnic groups or parties. So, what do Rwanda and Rwandans need? Don't feel frightened as if you are numb. Make the right choice instead of staying in the darkness while avoiding light, and try to live your life to the fullest. Please don't be fooled and take refuge in your enemy's house as if you have no choice in that matter. Rwanda free from divisions, killings, dictatorship, injustice, poverty, unemployment, and hunger for all of us. Richard R. Kayumba. 3. Comprehensive dialogue for a free and safe Rwanda. Dialogue participants. Formation of collective movement. People struggle for freedom should follow each other. Note, it should all start with a dialogue between the Hutus and the Tutsis, political parties, activists, and civil society to remove prevalent prejudices, build an ideological foundation, create a unified approach, create an environment of cooperation, and in this way gather human and material resources needed in Rwanda to make it free from murder, injustice, dictatorship, unemployment, poverty, and hunger. Its sections and how it will be achieved in a phased manner. Section 1. 1.1, where we are now, the road that leads to nowhere. Parties, civil society, activists, and armed groups are looking for ways to liberate Rwanda. So what is being asked is, where are you taking Rwanda in a way that you do not agree with Rwandans? Following the signposts of the way to free all Rwandans, the next section 2. Section 2. 2.1, we must first establish a dialogue preparing committee by doing the following. Identify like-minded people and agree on how the dialogue should be organized. Gather ideas of what should be on the agenda for the dialogue. Indicate the budget needed for travel, accommodation, meals, printing, and communication. Agree on the agenda and conclusions to be drawn. Agree on the invitees, where the negotiations will take place and the rules that will govern them, the observer, the role of the individual, and the staff. Inviting everyone. Promoting the dialogue in all possible media outlets and call on Rwandans to participate and follow it. Welcoming invitees. Section 3. Finalizing the dialogue. Realizing the burdens of ethnicity, political and party issues, personal or group, represented to be included in the agenda. Review of the questions and answers given in the book Syllabus for Better Life in Rwanda, which will be used to build the unification agenda, social, economic, and political life of all Rwandans. Acknowledging the name of the movement that connects us, its characteristics, how it is represented legally, and the issue of mutual cooperation. Organize where we shall get the money and people that we need for our mission. Electing leaders and coordination teams are to be formed. Agreeing on joint activities with stakeholders, strategies adopted and responsibilities of the leaders. Establish a timeline of activities. Signing of ethnic cooperation agreements with other partners for coping with Rwanda's problems. Section 4. 4.1. Coordination of the movement requires budget. Planning is done in a realistic manner so that we can achieve it. Agreements on practical actions that should be initiated. Interaction and communication methods. Building and deployment of teams to implement. Section 5. 5.1. Release of all Rwandan prisoners imprisoned by Paul Kagame. Arrest the dictator and his accomplices and bring them to justice. Restoring security, safety, order, and sense of comfort in the country. Establish a coalition government, signatories of cooperation agreements, parties and individuals who support change but do not speak out for their security, political prisoners, and some members of the RPF and government forces to help bring about change. To liberate all the people imprisoned in the country and get a quick help, including taking care of the wounded and treating those who are in critical condition, helping the hungry, access for the homeless, release political prisoners and allow them to join politics, refugee resettlement, examining the files of other prisoners, providing justice and compensation for the suffering of the oppressed, building national leadership from 10 houses to the highest levels of government as provided in the syllabus. Implement the strategies contained in the syllabus as approved in the dialogue. Entering a free, secure country. Section 6. 6.1. Activities that will take place in the free and secure country. Preparing the public for a proper relationship, attitude, and behavior. Capacity and skill. Resettle the returnees and the displaced. Establishment of human and property security institutions. Amendments to the Constitution and other laws as suggested by the syllabus. Establish equal opportunities for all in the workplace, schools, administration, security, and social services. Building private sector enterprises. Building new council-based governance. Capacity building of political parties to participate in politics and people. Establish a national electoral body. Section 7. 7.1. Making a prototype of the democratic way in Rwanda. To move towards democracy and good governance. Introduce the necessary reforms to strengthen good governance and culture in Rwanda. Educating the public through public speaking. Differentiating politics and security institutions. Restoring the right to vote through transparency. Removing the foundation of dictatorships and divisions where they are increasingly manifested in institutions. Provide the knowledge, intelligence, and capacity to control and prevent tyranny, corruption, and discrimination in public and private sectors. Establish a process controlling and preventing conflicts between communities and between community and administration. Law enforcement and governance in cooperation and collaborative mode. Searching for nonpartisan candidates for election preparation and review. Establish a transparent and reviewed election monitoring framework. Increase the people's willingness to participate in elections. Conduct a general census of the country's population. Simplify the voting process. Establish equal opportunities for candidates and individual and party candidates running for election. Draw a map of the polling station, necessary materials, and voting. Elimination of laws and regulations that hinder voters. To enact the right to vote for every citizen. Regulating the role of money and prevention of corruption in elections. Section 8. 8.1 Rwandan democratic picture must be complying with the following 4 pillars of democracy. The people have equal rights and equal vote before the law. The public is represented in all decision-making bodies. The people are free in the country. Justice is independent in its decisions. Section 9. 9.1 How we visualize the people of Rwanda in democracy. Power is given back to people. Think about and make choices that suit its decisions. Understand multi-party systems and elections. Advising on all decisions taken in the country. Democratic training. Participate in and choose how they are led. Ability to detect, prevent, or report corruption in public services. Participate in election to understand the value of vote and the elimination of obstacles to the election. Have a say in the government and the country and freedom of the individual. Explain to the authorities how to ask the government what it does and make decisions when necessary. Section 10. 10.1 Good and happy social life. We wish for Rwanda must be tested on the following 10 scales of good social life. Personal safety. Human health. Family life of people. Educational skills and vocational community skills. The work they do with its availability. Family income, such as productivity and economy. Organizations, beliefs, and cooperation. Pure and non-polluting environment. Participate in national life. Healthy housing, employment, and health that suit people. Section 11. 11.1 The scheme that shows the 10 characteristics of a good government that we would like to leave as a legacy to Rwanda. The government operation is controlled by the public. The government operates in a transparent and non-corrupt manner and without nepotism in the public service. A government that respects the rule of law and its members are governed by it. The government monitors its activities and operations properly. A government that is considerate and accessible to all Rwandans. The government provides good, complete, and timely services. The government that the public participation in decision-making and its projects. The government consults the public first before decision-making. A government that respects gender equality, without discrimination based on gender and ethnicity. Section 12. 12.1 Aiming to make Rwanda the leading provider of social services, governance, and justice in Africa. for a free and safe Rwanda National People's Concern, NPC.